does service play a role in helping us live a life of happiness?
Absolutely. And after this, we'll maybe open it up to the audience. So after we do this question, we'll open it up to any questions that anyone in the audience has. The role that I see service playing is, here we are talking about oneness. Yoga means union, and we've spoken so much over these days about that union, about the oneness of us with all of creation, about how this physical body, this concept that this is who I am, is an illusion. That this is simply the container that I is using at this moment to have this experience of awakening. But that actually there's no place that I end and you begin. Because we're all spirit, we're consciousness, we're love, we're energy. Whatever word you use, they're all getting at the same concept. Whether we say God, whether we say divine, whether we say spirit or universe or love or energy or consciousness, we're talking about the same thing. Now, with service, here's the beautiful role that service gets to play. There's two ways to serve. I can serve as me serving you, I who have serving you who don't, I as a great humanitarian serving the needy. Well, that just emphasizes the separateness. That's not real service. What real service, real seva is serving myself in you. Can I see you as me? If I trip and I fall and I injure my right leg, the left leg picks up extra weight. We call that limping. No one has to say, oh, wonderful humanitarian, great left leg. Would you mind picking up some extra weight? The left leg is not waiting for some humanitarian award or gold star. It does it because it understands intuitively the right leg is self. And if I trip and injure my right leg, week after week after week, the left leg is not going to say, you know, enough, like I've done this already. Why always me? I just limped last week. Tell the right leg it should pick up some extra weight, like I'm over. The left leg will limp and limp and limp, week after week, because it knows, week after week, the right leg is self. And that's the model for our service. It's not about martyrdom, it's not about the poor left leg. It's about self. If I get an itch, I'm going to scratch it. My right arm can't scratch its own itch. It needs my left fingers to scratch it. And again, nobody has to say, oh, wonderful fingers, would you mind? I know you were happy on the couch, but could I bother you for just a moment to scratch me over here? It's one, it's self. And that's the opportunity we have in service. It's not that I need a sticky note on my computer that reminds me to perform random acts of kindness, or that I need to remember to be compassionate, but that my practice becomes seeing myself in you, and therefore serving myself in you. And with that practice, it becomes about much more than service. Then it's about oneness. Then it's about real yoga. Then it's about, as Bruce was speaking, this incredible healing of the universe, because then no, I'm not going to make choices to eat food that's pulling food out of your mouth. I'm not going to make choices that's pulling the water out of your field. I'm not going to make choices that are destroying the natural world. Not because I'm a great humanitarian or even a great yogi, but because it's all self. And because every tree that is felled, every starving child, every farmer with a desiccated field, they're me. And I'm going to serve them the same way that I limp for myself and scratch myself and feed myself and care for myself. And that's the opportunity that we're being given.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, being a biologist, I want to talk about a different aspect of service, but it's the same thing, because my dear friend Sadhvi was talking about service and how we can influence the world around us. I want to give you an interesting biological insight about your own personal consequence of being in service. And basically, it has to deal with the DNA in your cells. I say, what does that mean? I say, well, the DNA is the genetic code. I say, and every time the cell divides, you have to copy that code. And so if I can try to make an image with my hand here, imagine my arm is the DNA. And I say it's time to copy it. There's a protein, so let's say the microphone, okay, thank you, that my hand is the copying device. It's like a train on a railroad track. As the train moves down the DNA, it leaves behind a copy of the DNA it just rode over. I say, well, that's really cool, except guess what? When the train gets to the end of the DNA, it can't copy the part where the train is sitting on it. So it copied everything all the way up to here, but can't copy this piece. So when I copy it, the new piece is shorter than the original piece. And so every time the cell divides, the DNA gets a little shorter than it did before. And I say, well, why is this relevant? Because if you make a shorter piece of DNA when you copy it, then every time you're copying it, you're interfering with the genetic code. So it's like, well, nature would say, oh my God, if every time the cell divides, pretty soon I'll chop that DNA up and I'll have a problem. But nature, of course, being quite intelligent, adds a piece of DNA at the end that is not the gene. It's just an extension. It's called a telomere. You may have heard the word telomere. And I say, what is it? It's an extra railroad track, but it's not the genes. And I say, why is it relevant? Because every time I copy it, I lose a piece of the telomere, but I didn't cut into the genes. And I say, well, what's aging all about? And here's what we now know. Aging, depression, and disease result when you copy the DNA so many times that you run out of that track of telomere, and the next time you copy, you're cutting off the gene, which interferes with your biology. So originally it was thought, oh, the telomeres have a fixed length, and every time it divides, you lose a piece of the length, and the scientists back in the 60s, Leonard Hayflick, calculated how many times can a cell divide before it runs out of telomere? And it came out, oh, it was about 50 to 60 cell divisions. I say, well, why is that relevant? Because our stem cells, which keep us alive, when they keep dividing, what happens after your stem cells went through 50 cell divisions? Now your stem cells won't work anymore, and now you can't replace your cells in your body. And that's when they said, oh, humans have a given lifetime. 90, 100 years at max, and that's your lifetime because that's when you run out of telomeres. That was very depressing because it says, oh my God, if I'm under stress, I actually cut the telomeres even faster. The more stress you're under, the more they disappears. Now, and it was because of, again, a woman scientist, because they always come up with the neat stuff that the men are not looking at. A woman scientist found there was an enzyme called telomerase, telomerase. And I say, what's that enzyme? It adds the length of the telomere. So as the cells are dividing, if you can activate this enzyme, it will extend the telomeres so the cells have a relatively unlimited lifespan. And so the relevance is the belief that we only live 100 years is mainly a consequence of not being able to continue to extend the telomeres in a normal person. So they started to find out, well, what influences the telomere? Well, the biggest thing is lack of love. If you have a lack of love, the feedback will shut off the telomerase enzyme. If you have stress in your life, stress shuts off the enzyme. If you have no gratitude or appreciation of life, it shuts off the enzyme. Why? Well, if you don't like life, then why give you extra life? That's the enzyme is just responding. But now it comes down to the opposites of those. Love and self-love, which is most critical, is one of the big drivers of telomerase. Gratitude and joy of being in this world enhances the enzyme. Why? If you love the world, you want more, and the cells will give you more. But now, and it's a beautiful question, the most important contributor to telomerase activity is service. That you are doing something on this planet, you have a mission to do something, and that your nervous system is telling your cells, I'm not ready to go, I have a job to do. And caregivers, for example, live an extraordinarily longer, healthier life than other people. Why? A caregiver's mentality is, I have to service and help these people, and therefore I cannot leave yet, and I have to be healthy. The feedback from the nervous system to the cells activates telomerase. So the simple line is this: if we have a mission and we have something to do on this planet, you will activate telomerase. Service is one of the primary things. So it says if you're just meandering through the earth, nice, you're going to end around 90. But if you're in service to the world, you can extend your life. And right now, biologists somewhat agree that our minimum lifespan is 140 years. And yet, with the stresses, with the lack of love, and not having a mission, we die 70, 80, 90 years of age. So is service important? It is one of the most valuable things to give you a longer, healthier, happier life, because the universe is honoring you. You're going to work with the universe says, I'm going to give you that opportunity. I'm going to extend your life and extend your health. So again, as we're here in this yoga community, and the messages from our teachers, such as my dear friend, is the message of we are here to work together, we are here to help change the world, we are here to help and uplift everyone we can. Why? It comes back, and it gives you the pleasure and the love of being on this most beautiful experience called planet Earth. Thank you.
Thank you. Amazing.